All right, we're back. The internet recovered. Unclear exactly what caused that, at least on my end, but it sounds like there was a lot of lag towards the end of the last round. We apologize for that. Things are back up and running. We've still got plenty of Modern left to play. We got Beky Bell subbing in, so let's bring her on. She was delightful yesterday, delightful every day. Beky Bell, snap my fingers and she appears, right?
Maybe.
There
There
we
we
go.
go.
All
Hi.
right. Hey, welcome
I
in.
did it. Thank you
Yes, it
so
was all
much for
you.
having me again. I guess I didn't do too bad yesterday if you're having me back again, huh?
You never do badly. So, players are sitting down for round number 6 out of 9. I believe this is probably the first 9-round event that the Energy Series has ever had.
That's
And
awesome.
while they're sitting down, so this is a big paper event for us. Obviously, this is the biggest nerd rage weekend ever as far as attendance goes, and really that's what probably we're most concerned about.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I asked Shane on the way out what he was kind of looking for or hoping for as far as events, like real life events now, because some events have moved online, like what is effectively the Pro Tour has now moved online for this foreseeable future. Like, what do you want? Are you looking for like small 30, 40 local town event, like LA area events that you can play in once a month? Are you looking to travel once every 3 months? Are you willing to drive? Like, what are you willing to do? What do you want to do? If we're designing events to cater to your desires, what would it be?
Cater to me. Wow. Okay. Um, I guess my preference, I don't like hate the Pro Tour being online. I think it is definitely different from what we've previously had, but I don't hate it. Um, I do kind of like the idea of there being like both big high level in-person events and big online events. So I like wish that we're gonna go with Pro Tour in quotations here because whatever they wish to call it.
Yeah.
Kind of did a little bit of a shift back and forth, and each season it would go from one being online, one being into in paper. And I would love if there was a way that you like maybe don't play one or the other, that you could defer to the next one.
Sure.
I know they
that'd be-
kind of did some of that previously,
Mhm.
but I would like if they would bring that back again so that we continue to kind of cater to players that want to continue to play Magic in the way that they like to play Magic and not force people into any one certain way. And by that same plight, I kind of would like to have multiple ways to qualify, both on Arena, on CGO, and in paper. However, that would kind of figure itself into it. I kind of imagine it more as like big in-person events every once in a while. Like once a month, there's a big event, and they just swap between being on each of those 3 platforms.
Okay.
And that's how you would cater to me, because then you could cater to all the different formats as well.
Okay, so if you qualified for an upcoming Pro Tour, now let's say like other circumstances is just a wash. Would you want to be playing your like you said? Let's say you could defer to the other if you wanted to. Would you choose to play an online event or would you choose to play an in-person event?
I probably would choose to play an online event actually at this point. I think that I'm personally now in a place where I like being able to sit at my computer in my sweatpants and play Magic as opposed to in person sit across from somebody.
Okay.
And so it's mostly just a comfort thing. I feel more comfortable being at my computer and being able to focus, having my dog close by me. They're just things that make me feel like I focus better and can play the game better, whereas opposed to like in person, I want to like keep the in-person experience, but if I was like choosing how I wanted to play my highest echelon of play, it would be online.
Okay. All right, that's totally fair. I would choose differently for myself. I would choose to have a paper Pro Tour event, but but based on your ideal scenario, that's okay. We could both be catered to. We can both get what we want. All right, so players are shuffling up around 6. Let's go ahead and head down to the table.
Let's go.
We've got Isaac Sherman, who won our Legacy event last month, playing Abzan Yawgmoth.
Oh, that's a spicy deck.
Let's go ahead there versus Quang playing Amulet Titan. Okay, so I took my first loss in round 5 in the modern event last week in Las Vegas to Abzan, or I believe it was just green black in that version, but the green black Yawgmoth deck, which is kind of tough to play against for a lot of decks really, because there's a lot of interactions, and then it's a combo that can just kind of spring up. They can grind you and then all of a sudden combo you out. Amulet Titan, however, is going to be looking to go over the top of that, and Yawgmoth's little undying creatures and 1/1 counters aren't going to do much to Primeval Titans. So I'm interested to see this play out, but I'm not sure that Isaac Sherman's going to have the edge here.
Yeah, I'm not completely sure either, unless we're able to assemble one of those combos, as you mentioned. I'm trying to make some guesses as to what the white is for. As you mentioned, we're very used to just like a green-black Yawgmoth deck, so I have to imagine that like potentially the white is for like some of the old like green-white Court of Calling decks where it's playing like Vizier of Remedies and combos with that. I could be wrong. I don't really know what the white in this deck is for, but that would be my first assumption.
It could be just a splash for another color for Prismatic Ending, but you're right. There could be some gold creatures that have utility. Okay, this is round 6. The players are 4-1. The game counts are reset now, and Quang is taking a mulligan. Although Amulet Titan, I mean, they deserve to mulligan once in a while because their deck is very powerful. Although the Abzan Yawgmoth deck can get going faster than it seems like it can probably win on turn. It can certainly win on turn 4. I don't know if they can get going on turn 3. I think like Mana Accelerator and then Undying Creature and then Yawgmoth. I think you'd be short a permanent at that point. But certainly a capable deck that can interact. And while Amulet Titan might be safe, the enabling creatures might fall prey to Yawgmoth and his minions. So we shall see.
We shall see indeed. All right, the second hand hopefully going to go a little bit better for Quang here. Taking a peek. I think I see a Cavern of Souls was the only thing I could make out with cards going that quickly. Oh, we do have an Amulet of Vigor as well. So I don't know, a land and an Amulet of Vigor usually means pretty good things.
Yeah.
I mean, the Cavern of Souls certainly not going to make that big of a difference in this matchup, but I think we see that the decision to keep this hand will be the one, just trying to decide which is going to be the thing to go. And it looked like we were debating having the little sloth go back under the deck here.
Yeah, our Royal Grazer was the initial pick, and it didn't go, although I'm not sure what did. But it was looked like it was kept in hand. So Acceleration Online, Cavern of Souls.
Naming Sloth?
I mean, why not? Half the time these Cavern of Souls get bounced and reset in this deck anyway. But it is... I don't even know what creature Arboreal Grazer is, but you seem to think it's a sloth.
I'm pretty sure it's a beast, actually. But
okay, well, then probably not naming sloth. But now there's a Gaia's Yavimaya Cradle of Excellence, Cradle of Growth. So now this Cavern of Souls doesn't even have to bounce. It can make green anyway. And here we go. Both players with Acceleration. Isaac Sherman with Birds of Paradise. That looks like it's been altered up.
Yeah, it's very pretty.
And Kongvu with an Amulet to go along with Arboreal Grazer, which now that it's hit the board, Arboreal Grazer has pretty much lost all future value in the game, but that's kind of what it does. And it's probably not expected to do much else. Another Cavern and a pass, and all right. Nothing too exciting yet.
Nothing too exciting, and I'm trying to make out the last 2 cards that are in Quang Vu's hand, and I believe one of them is a bounce land. So it'll be interesting to see how that gets used. Probably just waiting for something a little more powerful to do in tandem with it. While we see Isaac Sherman go ahead and play a Wall of Roots and an Ignoble Hierarch. Lots of mana creating creatures, not a lot of lands to see on this side of Isaac Sherman.
Yeah, so I guess the Ignoble Hierarch, I mean, we're only 1 mana ahead of curve, even though we've played 3 mana creatures because there's just 1 land in play. But okay, that's I mean, it's basically equivalent, and if they're not going to die, then it doesn't matter. Hierarch is better than a land.
Yeah.
Kongvu with a Valakut, untapped, and a pass. All right, so still not a ton of action, but 4 mana on the board.
This is weird.
I mean, yeah, it's okay. So there's a Grist was drawn for the turn for Isaac Sherman. That's also not going to do a ton. There is, unless a Primeval Titan passes the turn in play, which actually isn't impossible. Isaac Sherman has basically all kinds of stuff. He's got Yawgmoth, he's got Wall of Roots. He just doesn't have a lot of extra mana.
Yeah, kind of an unfortunate situation to be this choked on mana with this many mana creatures. Could have all the things in the world that we want, but instead we're stuck in a little bit of a rough situation here. But it looks like we're just going to continue to add some minus counters. They're not even minus anything on the first half. They're just 0 -1, correct, for Wall of Roots?
Right. They are. Wall of Roots definitely predates Magic's move towards almost all modifying counters being +1/+1 or -1/-1. These are -0, -1 counters. 2 Young Wolves hit the board.
Oh.
Scavenging Ooze and Yawgmoth and Grist are the remainder of Isaac Sherman's hand. That. Oh, just a sec.
Yeah.
I didn't even see a judge call. Okay. All right. I was just consulted by one of the judges if we needed to talk about the judge call, and it was on the other table, but the judge didn't realize which match we were broadcasting. So, okay. Anyway, back to this game. I don't think I missed anything.
Nope. Young Wolves are on the field. Quang has drawn for a turn and is now just contemplating what exactly is the play to do with the lands that are in play. I know we see, I believe, a Selesnya bounce land in hand. We have a Boros bounce land as well. And as you mentioned, these Cavern of Souls tend to get picked up, renamed multiple times in this deck, and it looks like that is going to be what happens here while generating a little bit of mana using this Amulet of Vigor.
And the castle is activated as there is plenty of green mana available because of the Yawgmoth Cradle of Growth. Here is Primeval Titan, the namesake of the deck. And I believe Isaac Sherman is going to try and win on his next turn, or at least combo a significant way through his deck. So Quang needs to accomplish a lot here, and maybe he can.
So far, so good. Primeval Titan, definitely a piece of that puzzle. Looks like we see a Slayer Stronghold kind of peeked out of the deck there as one of the debates. Potentially going to try and see if we can do as much damage as possible this turn.
Yeah, and that actually does matter because without the ability to actually, I mean, there is an assembly of creatures that will allow Isaac Sherman to go infinite, but short of that, which he doesn't currently have, I don't believe, it does cost him a life for each card he wants to draw. So even though he can go as deep in the deck as he wants, as his life total permits, this Primeval Titan potentially could take a good chunk out of that.
Yeah. No, and that would be huge. If you're narrowing how far Isaac Sherman can dig for an answer. Oh, Crumbling Vestige, the other pickup.
Okay. So it makes the mana when it comes into play tapped and then untaps from the Amulet. Activate, give Primeval Titan haste, get some more lands. Primeval Titan, I believe, is now an 8/6. But Isaac Sherman's still going to have a fair amount of life to play with.
A fair amount of life, yeah. Not doing too much here. Just going to try and get some lands out of the deck. I assume if you're Quang here, you're saying there's no way that I can win this turn. So let's go ahead and try to set myself up for as good of a chance to win on the next turn if I live to it as possible. And sometimes that's just got to be how your play patterns with a deck like Amulet Titan or a deck like Tron kind of have to go.
Yeah, agreed. There is, looks like Teleria West and Simic Growth Chamber might be popped up there, may be the selections. That would allow for a transmute this turn, potentially picking up a Blue Pact, for example, would increase the chances that Quang could survive, and yet I don't think he had the mana to pay the echo on that. So okay, two Urza Sagas, that's great and everything to play a long game. Isaac Sherman may not be interested in playing that same game though on the same terms.
Yeah, that seems a little bit worrisome to me and kind of goes against the thing that I was just saying, which happens quite a bit here at the booth. You think that a player is on the same thought process as you, same wavelength for one thing, and then slowly but surely either it changes or they decide, no, I actually want to do this. And it looks like we're going to go ahead and go for these Urza Sagas, which could be a little bit more of a long con game plan unless Quang is able to draw something insane. But with what looks to be just 2 lands in hand, interesting to see the double Urza Sagas be the pickup.
So Isaac Sherman, having done no damage to himself, is probably at 12 right now. And yeah, there we go. And I believe now the inner workings of the Yawgmoth deck are privy only to those who put in the practice time. But I believe we're going to see, well, okay, for one thing, starters, that mana does not cast Yawgmoth, I don't think. We need a second black source. Okay, got that changed around there. That's good. All right, so Yawgmoth on the board. Now, the way this works is these young wolves with Undying can interact with each other to swap counters back and forth. And Isaac Sherman can draw cards. paying a life for each one.
Mm-hmm.
So here is the sacrifice. Counter on Primeval Titan, which is now 5/5. Undying. Now this Yawgmoth's a 2/2. Draw a card.
Okay, so it looks like they're also going to use black dice to represent negative counters, white dice to represent positive downers. So counters. I appreciate that little bit of extra visual clarity.
Okay, so then Yawgmoth number 2 sacrifices to take a counter off Yawgmoth number 1, gaining its own Undying counter and taking it off the first one. And what happens here is they can swap counters back and basically the two Yawgmoths can swap counters back and forth, each time generating a card for Isaac Sherman. And if before he runs out of life, he's able to find a way, either a Court of Calling or just to actually naturally draw one of the creatures that enable him to either gain life or drain life from Quang, that will be the end of the game. If he's unable to do that, then Quang will get another turn.
Yeah, and this is one of the beautiful parts about playing paper Magic as well, is getting to play these decks where you can have these verbal shortcuts and you don't have to sit online and do a bunch of click-throughs of all these different things.
Definitely. Yes, it makes a difference. All right, so that was a Canopy land coming into play there, being immediately sacrificed to draw another card. So Isaac Sherman just
finally finds a land and immediately sacrifices it for another card that doesn't cost life.
Now, the creature just drawn, I believe it's Zulapart Cutthroat, potentially. That might be the name. That is the card that allows Isaac Sherman. It does if you can get it into play, but I don't know that Isaac Sherman can. And he's made his land drop for the turn, and his mana sources can only make black. This is why it actually was extremely relevant that the correct mana was played for the Yawgmoth. Well, actually, I guess Isaac Sherman's completely out of mana right now anyway. So really, Court of Calling is what he needs.
Yeah.
There is one.
Oh my gosh.
So Isaac Sherman at 4 life finds the Court of Calling. Now, as to the particulars of his deck list, we're in the dark on that one. There may only, if there's only one, sorry, if there's only one Zulapart Cutthroat, then he might not be able to go infinite here against Quang and kill Quang. However, if there's also something like an Essence Warden, then Isaac Sherman could gain infinite life, even though he may not be able to actually kill Quang this turn. We'll see how this plays out. A whole lot of cards in Isaac Sherman's hand, most of them uncastable, and looks like we're discarding the hand size.
Wow. Okay.
So Chord for 2 is available right now, tapping all the creatures in play, but Chord for 4 will be available on Quang Vu's turn because the Wall of Roots can be reused. So let's see how this plays out.
Yeah, looks like still just deciding what we want to get rid of to go down to hand size. Got to be careful because for both of these decks, it does seem like the number of remaining turns in this game is limited.
This is something I actually find fairly difficult to do, discarding in a deck where you draw, in a situation like this where you draw, let's say there's 15 cards in Isaac Sherman's hand, discarding down to 7 is actually mentally taxing and more than I would have expected before having done it half a dozen times. So we saw a discard there. If we can get the discard moved on the camera, that'd be great. If not, I'm not too worried about it. There's probably a whole pile of lands anyway. Urza Sagas both rotate up to 2, and if Quang Vu doesn't draw anything of relevance here, I don't think he's gonna. He's a Primeval Titan attack, but this Valakut is nowhere near activating without a Dryad.
I'm interested to see what the play is going to become because of, especially with these Urza Sagas. I mean, I have to imagine that the plan was to activate them to make constructs if that's what we were going to pick up. And it looks like that is going to be the case, at least to start off here.
All right, now we can kind of see the discard cards from Isaac Sherman. It does look like some land, and then some cards are kind of hard to, we can't really read very well there, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. The Urza Saga, one of these construct tokens can be given haste by the, is that Slayer Stronghold? Yeah, so there are multiple attackers available, but I don't think it's likely to be enough to get through, even though Isaac is at 3 at this point.
Yeah, this is kind of a tense game, and you kind of have to expect that Issac found a way to stay in the game because Issac didn't go ahead and like scoop it up in the face of this Primeval Titan. I mean, you kind of always got to fake it too. So even if Issac didn't have a way to stay in, but the way that Issac is clarifying has to give you some kind of a little bit of a tell that he has some interaction and there's some way that he's going to try and stay in this match.
All right, so token was made given not entirely sure what just happened. I think the token was given haste and then maybe attacking alongside the Primal Titan, but in that case the Primal Titan would be tapped. So maybe the Titan has just been activated on and the token's just sitting there. Okay, no, there we go. The Primal Titan is tapped. Yeah. All right. So they are both attacking. Tolaria West into hand. Now, transmute Tolaria West for Dryad Elysian Grove will turn on the Valakut, and that may make a significant difference on the outcome of this game.
It would certainly put the hurt on Issac, but as you mentioned, we could potentially take this time to go for something like the Essence Warden, as you mentioned.
If there's one in there, I'm told we're going to be able to have deck lists available during the break, but we're not there yet. So, now, momentarily, Quang does not have access to a second blue mana to transmute, but I think he has another Growth Chamber in hand, so that the transmuting will be turned on, and there's probably enough mana to cast a Dryad if there is one. All right, while Issac's figuring out his block, let's go ahead and see if we can bring up his deck list real quick. See if we can look for what tutor targets are available. If we don't have it, that's okay, but if we do have it, this would be a good time to bring it up very briefly. All right, we're going to go ahead and see a block there, and then Issac Sherman is the deck list we're looking for, the Abzan Yawgmoth player. See what singletons he might have. I believe that's drain 2 from your opponent. So the cord right there, well, we
aren't seeing it.
Does Court of Calling only get green creatures?
Yes, I believe so.
Let's bring up Court of Calling. I know between Green Sun Zenith only getting green creatures and Summoner's Pact and Court of Calling, some of them are restricted, some are not. Let's bring up Court of Calling. I think it actually gets anything, but
yep.
Yeah,
it's any creature. Okay.
And there was, I believe, the ability to cord for 4 before the block happened.
But as you mentioned, going for the transmute into Dryad of Elysian Grove, all of these lands now able to do a bit of damage here.
And then there is Dryad Elysian Grove, land drop. Now, so Issac Sherman could pay 4 life to kill the Dryad before the Valakut trigger, but that's not going to work, him being at 3. Now, maybe we missed something there. It's also possible we saw that Issac drew the Zulaport Cutthroat. He may have also drawn the Jaralis Messenger, which would have made it unable to cure 4. So that would also be a possibility of why he couldn't win there. So anyway, that's Quang will win game 1. Let's go ahead and go back to a tutor target that can disenchant is obviously very valuable here. Takatli Honor Guard, does that prevent come into play abilities of creatures, I believe?
Yes.
Okay, well that would also work against Primeval Titan. although perhaps hindering his own deck somewhat as well. I'm not sure about that. Actually, I'm not sure it hurts him too much, but it definitely would hurt Quang Vu's deck. Let's go ahead and look at Quang Vu's deck. So we see there's some potential sideboard action on Isaac Sherman's side.
This one does, but the previous one did not.
All right. Well, then let's. Okay, well that's fixed. Okay, great. All right, so sounds like no one heard us for the last minute and a half. But anyway, let's go to the other deck list anyway, and then we'll just kind of rehash what we said about Isaac Sherman's deck once the game gets started.
Sounds good.
So let's see Quang Vu's deck, and then we'll catch you up to Beky and I's thoughts on what Isaac might be doing.
Dex?
Yeah, okay. So we can go ahead and head down to the match. We'll kind of rehash what we said about Isaac Sherman's deck, which is that he probably is going to want to bring in Force of Vigors, which almost no matter what deck you're playing, if you have Force of Vigor, you should bring it in against Amulet Titan and against Hammer. It's just great. And he may want all the kind of the Thoughtseize, and then also the Necromentia. Anything that's going to be able to prevent. I mean, Quang Vu's deck is not totally dependent on Primeval Titan, but it's very, very important to its ideal functioning. So those cards all might be available to Isaac Sherman, or all are available and likely contenders to come in if he has space to bring in that many cards, as well as what was the name of the other card you said? Outland Liberator?
Outland Liberator.
Yeah, which is the Werewolf Disenchant. Okay, so that was actually in both decks, and we I don't think we'll see it come in for Quang Vu.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
But it's cool that we're seeing that get some extra play in Modern already. It looked like we saw Quang Vu keep a 7, at least based on body language here, and Isaac Sherman looks to be mulling to 6 here on the play.
All right. Players getting things started. We have a Bird's Paradise. No shock, there's a mana creature there. There are an abundance of them in the deck list.
A whole lot of them. And an Urza's Saga to start for the other side to boot with an Amulet Titan. So strong start here if you're facing down this Amulet Titan deck.
Yeah, so we basically have an Amulet Vigor on suspend and an Amulet Vigor in play. What does Isaac Sherman have? We have the Tocatli Honor Guard, I believe.
Yep.
So if we can bring up Tocatli Honor Guard, which is going to shut down some of the fun things that Quang Vu was planning on doing, although Isaac Sherman down to only 2 cards in hand.
Only 2 cards in hand, but hopefully buying himself a bit of time here. Whoa.
All right. That's a hold. Okay, there's a Valakut that's going to just tap for 2 mana.
It's to get an expedition map. Okay.
So there are. That might search out. Conceivably, could search out another Urza Saga. Quang Vu can't actually make any green or blue mana right now. But if this is a game where Isaac Sherman's sideboard cards are going to stop Quang Vu from doing much of his exciting stuff, he may be able to just get the job done with construct tokens if Isaac Sherman's draw is sluggish enough. Now, Quang Vu's mana, his green mana problems are now been solved by the Yawgmoth Cradle of Growth for Isaac Sherman, which is the green Urborg. Yeah, that solves a few issues. No token making yet, though, as Quang doesn't have the mana.
Kind of looks like we're debating it now, though.
Well, I mean, we might be debating. What are we? We could be searching with Expedition Map, but are we searching with? What are we getting with Urza Saga?
Another amulet? Question mark.
I mean, that's usually what you get, but there's already 2. I mean, we have the map. There may be other relevant cards to potentially look at. Let's see.
Yeah, I believe we're seeing mana floated, at least to start.
Yeah. This doesn't look to me like a person who knew what they were searching for. Yeah, this is someone who's trying to decide what to search for. Nothing wrong with that, but it's just the body language suggests that Quang Vu is thinking this through as he riffles through his deck.
Yeah, certainly taking a moment to debate. I already have 2 amulets. Do I need a third one? Do I want to go for something else? Is there something in particular that I want to name and shut down? And it looks like with a pithing needle in the right hand, we might be trying to shut something off here.
All right, so we'll see if we can get some guidance on what the name was there. Certainly, Yawgmoth would be a reasonable thing, but there could be others.
This one land in play now is feeling very tense for the side of Quang Vu, but with 2 amulets in play and like them not really at jeopardy, only 1 land or 1 card in the hand of Isaac Sherman, you've got to be feeling pretty okay about yourself for the moment.
All right. So is that just a Sunhome Fortress and then a passing of the turn? And the pithing needle did name Yawgmoth, so that's no surprise there. Quang Vu has whole pile of mana available when he decides he wants it. He can Expedition Map for a bounce land, and then with 2 amulets, that's going to generate as much as he needs. But he may not have a use for it yet, and with the Takatl Honor Guard on the board, that may be a while coming. Let's see if we get a chance. Can we pop up? It's Takatl Honor Guard, I think.
Yes. TOCATLI?
Yeah, I think that's right. And now there may be a judge question as Isaac Sherman has left the table. There is Takatl Honor Guard. Creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger. So Primeval Titan, no dice, no free lands for you.
So potentially not something that, I mean, it would be nice to have some lands for Quang Vu, but having this expedition map does mean that we'll be able to get whatever land we decide we need going forward pretty soon. And then it just is kind of all going to come down to what Isaac Sherman either has in hand or is able to draw to kind of face down what I'm sure Quang Vu, with a grip of, I believe, 4 cards, has in store.
Even a Primeval Titan that can't search up lands on entry can still make lands when it attacks. So there is still something that can happen. But here is Quarter Calling for 2, I think, at the end step. And this is after Isaac Sherman consulted a judge, perhaps on an interaction that we're about to see.
I'm trying to think like what it might be going for. Like, we have a mana open. If we're worried about any one of these artifacts, we could go for something like the Outland Liberator and immediately take this time to destroy it.
Yeah. If Isaac Sherman needs both to destroy the Pithing Needle and to acquire a Yawgmoth.
Yeah, we're running out of ways to do it.
Yeah, generally you would want to hold on to your tutor until you draw the other one. Here we're tutoring first, and similar. So Isaac Sherman also doesn't. It seems like he has cast his Quarter Calling for 2 and is now considering what it is he actually wants to be doing here.
Looks like we're hovering Strangleroot Geist.
I mean, that's an attacker.
It is an attacker. It seems
And there it is, Stranglegeist. Okay.
All right.
So that's a grand total of 5 creatures representing a power of 4.
Yeah, that's not exactly where you want to be if you're Isaac Sherman, I don't think. And now with no cards in hand at the mercy of the top of his deck, it's not where I would want to be if I was a green player.
Yeah, well, you mulligan. What are you going to do sometimes? Here we go,
That's
in for
true.
4. Kong Vu, we're doing 0.8 damage per creature, and you're going to another Birds of Paradise.
Oh no. Does go ahead and sacrifice that expedition map. We'll see. Taking a peek at the hand, trying to make out what is in the hand of Quang Fu, but I wasn't able to there. Looks like we're hovering over these bounce lands, trying to decide which one will suit us the best, and it looks like it will be the Simic Growth Chamber.
So I think earlier I might have spotted 1 or 2 copies of Summoner's Pact, and I said earlier how Primeval Titan, yeah, I mean, it's not going to fetch lands when it comes into play, but you could keep it in play and then attack and get lands. However, Summoner's Pact could not be paid for right now with Primeval Titan not fetching up lands. So Kong Fu got a ways to go before any of this can actually happen. Dryad would be maybe the more appealing card, as there is a Valakut in play, and just Kong Fu has so many cards in hand. Some of them are bound to be lands.
Oh no.
What? No.
Okay, so the way that Isaac Sherman just peeked into his deck box and now has his hands on my head kind of has me worried that maybe he was looking for something like the Outland Liberator and maybe didn't sideboard it into his deck.
Okay. Well, that would be regrettable. He's looking. Yeah.
We've all been there, but it certainly does feel bad when all of a sudden you're like, oh, I meant to put this into my deck. But a lot of mana going to start off being made for Quang Vu here, with those 2 Amulet of Vigors being able to get as much value out of those bounce lands as possible.
All right, so we're most likely floating a blue, a green, and it could be a blue and a green. It could be, all right. Sunhome could tap for a green if Angu pleases, because the Yawgmoth. One of these lands is going to have to return to hand before the turn continues, unless we shortcutted our. Well, we can't have shortcutted our land drop because the Growth Chamber was the land drop.
Yeah. Seems like we're just deciding how much mana we need. Yeah, it looks like we will choose Sunhome Forger.
All right. 6 mana is what I count as being available, with 4 from the Growth Chamber and then 1 for each of their 2 lands. And here is an Arboreal Grazer. That's going to put Force into play tapped. Okay, 2 more mana. Or I guess 1 more mana and an untapped Forest. There is the Summer's Pact. There is Primeval Titan. And Kong Vu has managed to do this while holding on to enough mana to actually pay for the Summoner's Pact next turn, which kind of, I think, was the hang up there and what made that more complicated than it would have been otherwise.
Yes, I agree. But Summoner's Pact does put this Primeval Titan into play and is ready to rumble, and now staring down the tiny creatures on the side of Isaac Sherman.
Isaac Sherman, Ghost Quarter wins the game. Let's go.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that would be big.
Field of Ruin. All of these things result in the game win.
Shaking his head, though, makes me concerned that something like that was not the draw.
Court for Fulminator Mage. Anything that kills a land.
Now that we've decided that Court of Calling gets a creature of any color, yes, the Fulminator Mage would be very good, but instead, Hands on Head does go for the pass.
All right. Kong Vu pays for the Pact. Primeval Titan now ready to rumble. Ready to actually put some lands into play.
Yeah, couldn't the first time because of the Stakali Honor Guard, but we're going to try and make up for it here in just a sec. Another Summoner's Pact is in hand, as well as that Sunhome Forger that we saw put back into the hand.
Okay, so.
Going to go through the deck and debate what lands we want to get this time. That's
a second copy of Simic Growth Chamber, and
why not? We'll have a lot of mana.
Yes, we will. A Castle Garen Brig. Those will untap twice, but probably the first set of mana is not overly useful.
Mm-hmm.
As we're in combat right now. All right, so Isaac Sherman continues to shake his head and occasionally put his hands on his head and roll back and forth. And yeah, he's a little distressed about some decision he made during this game.
Could just be the multi-6. It
Yeah.
sucks to be in a situation where your record is pretty good and all of a sudden a mulligan is what does you in a matchup that maybe isn't super ideal. It seemed that post-board this matchup should get a lot better, but just not seeing the right cards certainly doesn't ever make that any easier.
Yeah. Okay, so Quang Vu, second main phase.
I'm trying to decide what's happening right now. Yeah, we are in second main phase, but hands folded makes me wonder what decision we're waiting to be made.
Maybe we're still waiting on blocking. It looks like Isaac Sherman is looking. Maybe they're looking for another judge. Okay, they're talking to the table spotter now. At least that's what I think that was. I'm trying to look across the room. I believe a judge. No?
Something about the Primeval Titan.
I don't know. I guess we'll just wait and let it play out and see what happens.
Oh, okay. So I guess Isaac seems to be concerned that Tocatli Honor Guard potentially stops the land drops from Primeval Titan, but...
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We did also get an Arboreal Grazer ETB trigger, actually.
Oh,
that
you're right.
That's
what it is. That's the problem. That's unfortunate because that would have made all of this unworkable, and that was over a turn ago. And I'm going to speculate with some confidence that the judges are not going to back up that far.
Yeah, that's kind of a long line of things.
It is, I think, in almost all cases, is impossible to say for sure what would have happened. In this case, I think it is clear what would have happened, as Quang Vu would have had. Let's see. No, you know what?
I'm trying to recall how much mana was left.
I think there was one extra at the end, but that doesn't. I don't know. But it really doesn't matter. What could have or would have happened won't impact the ruling. The ruling is going to be based on just what the judges think and on the interaction of the rules, and the rules are going to say we can't back up that far.
Yeah, unfortunately, I do think that will be the case. Sorry that we didn't catch that earlier, folks. Kind of got lost in the situation. Lots of things happening. Sometimes it's hard to notice certain things on the board.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knew the Primeval Titan wasn't going to trigger because that was important.
Yeah, Arboreal Grazer,
who cares about Arboreal Grazer, and it slips through the cracks?
The poor sloth.
All right, while we're waiting, let's bring up Arboreal Grazer and confirm that it is not, in fact, a sloth.
Please? I'm pretty sure it's a beast. I'm like 98% sure that it's a beast.
Then why do you continue to be wrong by calling it a sloth?
Because it looks like a sloth.
Hold on. We're hearing that. We're hearing.
Oh, okay.
What was it? Yeah. Okay. So the determination of the judges is that this cannot be backed up. So the game state is going to stay as it is. There is an Arboreal Grazer creature type beast.
Nailed it. Can't remember its ETB trigger, but I could remember that it was a beast.
All right. So, Isaac Sherman shaking his head now for a completely different reason.
Very true, as you do, and simply going to continue this game now.
That Quang Vu brought in the Emrakul, the 13-mana Emrakul.
I mean, if you're gonna get there, and he's Like, it's not like he's not close to that amount of mana, so.
Sure. Emrakul, the Promised End? Is that right? That's the cheap one?
The Promised End is the cheaper one, yeah.
Yeah. The cheapest one at 13. Well, I guess with a discount.
Yeah, it gets pretty cheap.
Yeah. All right. So, do we have anything here for Isaac Sherman? We have Canopy Land, drawing a card. Unfortunately, we need 2 cards as we have to destroy the Pipe Needle and find a Yawgmoth.
Yeah.
It's a lot to ask right now.
Says, okay, I'm not sure what this card is that's on the field right now.
This is, I believe this is the new, it's a 7 mana, power and toughness equal to your number of lands, comes into play, get a land, and search your deck into play. I believe that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be able to ask the director to look that one up because I don't know the name. Maybe I can find it real quick. Mm-hmm. As the pace of this game has is not fast.
Slowed, yeah.
All right, let's see if it's in this set, which I think it is.
Yeah. And rightfully so that the pace is slowed. Once you kind of make a mistake like that, both players have to feel a little bit bad, and it makes sense that the pace of play would start to go down a little bit.
Cultivator Colossus is the card.
Oh, okay.
So if we're going to bring that up, we can see it, but it's 7 mana, trample. Its size is equal to the number of lands you control, and when it enters play, you can tutor a land into play and then draw. I'm sorry.
Oh.
When it comes into play, you can drop a land into play from your hand, and you can do this as many times as you have lands in your hand.
Whoa.
And you draw a card on each one. So it could chain through several.
Whoa.
It is currently a 4/4 trample as the come into play effect was not enabled because of Kotliana Guard.
We got that one.
All right, 3rd Amulet.
Did we just have 3 amulets in hand the whole game? Oh,
there is the Emrakul.
You know, if you're able to tap and untap enough lands, you can just take your opponent's turn. And if we thought Isaac Sherman was in a bad situation on previous turns, I think... oh, wait, does that ETB effect get stopped?
No, it does not. It's not an ETB effect. Isaac Sherman staring at Kotliana Guard. Dude, I thought we had an agreement. I put you in the deck. I tutor you up. You do work. But instead, Kotliana Guard's, no, it's a cast trigger. I can't do anything. I'm powerless to stop it. As is Isaac Sherman, powerless to stop the Rampaging Primeval Titan and Emrakul.
If you're paying 13 mana for it, you got to be getting through something like a Takali.
But you didn't pay 13. I think you only paid like 11 or 9 or something. I mean, there's a discount on that card.
But I mean, you're still playing 10 for Ulamog, so that's also a cast trigger. Sure.
Yeah. All right. The other game, miraculously, is not finished. So let's go over to the other match.
Okay.
Raja Sulaiman and Henry Mildenstein. And we've got Spreading Seas on the land.
A lot of things happening.
We got Lurrus in play. We've got Teferi. We've got large graveyards. We've got Psychic style cards. These players at 4-1. And Henry Mildenstein, I believe, was on the... I know he was in the top 8 team. Was he on the... He was on the winning team. Yeah, I thought so. Henry Mildenstein was on the winning team.
Oh, whoa.
Of the team event. He was playing limited, I believe. He 6-0'd the top 8 in limited with his blue-red hyper aggro, no rare draft deck.
Oh, okay.
He's now switched over to... I mean, he was confident in his draft deck. He was proven correct, and yet didn't have the guts to play it in Modern. Whoa. So he's here with Jund. Up a game, though, against Raja Sulaiman on Azorius Control, and
attacks for 6, puts him to 2, and then uses the Pyrite Spellbomb to finish it off. And Henry Mildenstein does take that match as well. So a backup that we went to for approximately 5 minutes to watch the end of.
Yeah, 5 minutes. That was more like 5 seconds. But that's Henry Mildenstein, 5-1. Can he top 8 2 events in one day?
That would be insane.
That would be pretty cool. Or at least play in 2 top 8s in one day. That would be exciting stuff. Anyway.
Very.
The I need you to repeat whatever the director just said as I missed it.
Oh.
Okay. All right. So we have standings from the previous round, I believe. So these are not up to date with the results of this round. But if you're looking to see what archetypes are doing well or see whether your friends are winning, this is where things were standing. So these top 15 players, we had 15 4-0s.
Oh, wow. Yep.
Including a couple recognizable names from the team event. We saw Caleb Durward on camera. His team did not do well yesterday, but he is turning it around today. We see Will Kruger, whose team was in the top 8. He's actually one of his teammates. So Will Kruger and Matthew Hoey, teammates yesterday, making top 8, both 4-0 today in Modern. We did watch Zoe Riederman play Burn and defeat Joseph Bernal this morning. We see a lot of recognizable names, a lot of solid players, and a variety of decks. So that is what the top of the field looked like going into this round. Believe we are now going to step away, get things turned around. We have round 7 coming up.
7.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track when we
at
have
some point it all blurs together.
When events are overlapping each other, things do get a little crazy.
Yeah.
But we have round 7 coming up. Stick around. We're here with Beky Bell. We've got hours more coverage today. So if you're enjoying yourself, give us a follow, and we'll be back in a few minutes.